Good morning, Christ Central, and welcome to our daily devotionals. My name is Fiona, and today I'm going to be reading from Romans 9, verses 19 to 29. One of you will say to me, then why does God still blame us? For who resists his will? But who are you, O man, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, why did you make me like this? Does not the potter have the right to make out of the same lump of clay some pottery for noble purposes and some for common use? What if God, choosing to show his wrath and make his power known, borne with great patience the objects of his wrath, prepared for destruction? What if he did this to make the riches of his glory known to the objects of his mercy, whom he prepared in advance for glory? Even us, whom he also called, not only from the Jews, but also from the Gentiles. As he says in Hosea, I will call them my people who are not my people, and I will call her my loved one, who is not my loved one. And it will happen that in the very place where it was said to them, you are not my people, they will be called sons of the living God. Isaiah cries out concerning Israel, though the number of the Israelites be like the sand by the sea, only the remnants will be saved. For the Lord will carry out his sentence on earth with speed and finality. It is just as Isaiah said previously, unless the Lord Almighty had left us descendants, we would have become like Sodom, we would have become like Gomorrah. Now, I hope you were listening yesterday when Al was talking, because that, my friends, was the clever bit. Today, it's more illustrative, I would say. So I am going to home in on Paul's verse, but who are you, O man, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to him who formed it, why did you make me like this? Paul then goes on to use the analogy of a potter creating out of clay. Now, I am no artist and I've never made a pot in my entire life, but I do like to bake. And usually I have a rather safe repertoire of cakes and cookies, but sometimes prompted by a special birthday or occasion, or inspired by the bake-off, I do get a little experimental. As the creator of my cake, I reserve the right to bin it, or accept my imperfections and proclaim a wonky sugar paste rose as endearing. Thankfully for us, God does not make mistakes, and we are all apparently made in his image. We are all exactly as we were meant to be. Now, sometimes, like myself, you may feel that, had God asked for a personal recipe for you when you were created in your mother's womb, then you would have been far happier. My own personal recipe would have been 8 ounces of kindness, 8 ounces of patience, 4 very large helpings of contentment, 8 ounces of finely sifted self-belief, a large tablespoon of academic ability, a teaspoon of artistic ability, and just a sprinkle of beauty. That would have been my perfect Victoria / Fiona sandwich cake. However, would this recipe really have made me happy? Well, without the 4 rather large dollops of patience, I would not have to pray, Lord, give me strength at least 500 times a day. In fact, God has not given us all equal gifts, talents, and abilities for a reason. Because we need to depend on him daily, hourly, in fact. It's not always easy to be kind if people are awkward or difficult. It's not easy to be generous when we have bills to pay. And where would the satisfaction be if everything we learned came so easily to us? Hard work builds stamina and perseverance. But what about those around us who are not as physically or mentally able-bodied as we are? A few years ago, I chatted to a lovely lady with a disabled child who had a life-limiting illness. I asked her whether she felt cheated and that life had been unfair to her. Her response took me rather by surprise, as she said that she felt privileged and that God only gave special children to very special parents. She felt chosen and equipped, set aside and blessed. How wonderful. How back in 2012, David Beckham featured in an advertising campaign for the London Paralympic Games. His slogan was, "Some people are meant to lead ordinary lives, and some people are meant to lead extraordinary lives." A year later, after several operations, my lovely surgeon told me he would have to amputate my leg in order to give me a better quality of life. He gave me a week to prepare for the operation. I can't deny that there was a lot of crying and despair exhibited by me. But I have a husband whose favourite slogan is, "There are no problems, only solutions." He's such a teacher. But his painstaking research produced so many encouraging stories and technological advances that I began to realise that I was about to leave behind an ordinary life and begin a very new and exciting extraordinary life where I would meet brave and inspiring people. Now, as you all know, God stepped in, and not a day goes by when I don't thank him for my leg, even on the painful days. But I sometimes wonder what a different life I would now be leading. Every aspect, every part of our own individual recipe that we are unhappy with is actually deliberate, intended, and gives us opportunities to draw close to God, to help us deal with the more challenging parts of our characters, or perhaps to accept what cannot be changed and embrace the parts that make us extraordinary. Because whatever difficulties we have will lead us to encounter different situations and meet different people. And we all know that all things work together for the good of those who love him. As we go into prayer groups, let us thank God for the person that he has made us. Thank you for listening.